Welcome back to Cricket Conversations. This time, along with Hemant Kenkre, I've got Sunil Vaidya, both a very dear friend. I would not know where cricket and cricket conversations would be without friends like this from around the world. Thank you so much, Hemant and Sunil, for being here today. Sunil, I called you specifically because there is talk of IPL moving to the United Arab Emirates. So I want to know if this is a great idea. What is the scene in the Middle East now? Is United Arab Emirates a safe place for IPL to go and have its jamboree there this year?
If Middle East is Dubai and UAE is safe place, then India is safer than that. Anyway, you're going to play without spectators, and it's only going to be a televised event. So why not in India? In fact, the Indian audience and Indian fans need this in this hour. When Corona has really kind of set in depression all over the place. So people want to kind of enjoy. Now people are fed up watching Indian World Cup matches, India-Pakistan matches repeatedly for the last 3 months, So they really need something to watch. I have no idea what is their logic to move IPL out of India. Okay, I'm not trying to say UAE is not the good place. So I think it's not a very good idea to move it to UAE because anyway you're going to get cricket after a very long time, whatever kind of cricket. People haven't had tennis ball cricket. So why not in India? The place to have cricket. So this league is for the Indians, by the Indians. So why not keep it in India?
Yeah. Hemant, what about your opening thoughts on the whole idea of transporting IPL to the Middle East?
Well, I think I didn't realize that IPL was an international tournament to begin with. For it to go outside the country, I always was under the impression, as whatever little cricket I've watched, whatever I've seen, I always thought that the Indian Premier League was a domestic game, and I understand exactly where Sunil Bhai is coming from. Simply because I think where I come from is, see, why they are holding it in UAE is something which I guess we will discuss as this discussion goes forward. The association, that's the BCCI, would have decided to hold this tournament in India, wherever, whether it's in Ahmedabad, or ideally in a place where there are more than one stadium at one center. It would make a very good big statement. I mean, let's look at it from that perspective, because we got to understand what is it that you're trying to tell the population of our country. I mean, at the end of the day, you're saying, listen, life moves on, just like the game goes on, as they say, the show goes on. So to me, I think from that perspective, I hope if they would have decided, or they can still decide maybe to have it in India, since no official announcement has been made. So obviously it's been mentioned that it's going to be held in the United Arab Emirates. I think it would have made a very big statement for them to have it in India. Having said that, I think the question that I'm going to throw across now is, why is the IPL even being held at this point in time? And that itself will answer all our questions at the end of the day. Why are we playing it now? Why can't we wait until the entire pandemic sort of subsides even more? For that matter, there obviously is a reason, and that happens to be with greenbacks, with dollars. So over to you, gentlemen.
I think it's a fair question to start with, actually, Hemant. Why IPL? People like Sunil Bhai just pointed out, people want some entertainment that is real, that is fresh, that they have not seen before. So maybe that's one reason. I heard the sports minister say some days ago that it is very important for sports to start their leagues in a small manner without spectators in the ground, so that people start feeling good about it and positive about the whole thing. Sport has got this amazing ability to bind people together, to lift spirits of people up. But should it be through IPL? That's a big question that we can turn around and ask. Why is the BCCI not showing similar enthusiasm for Ranji Trophy, for example? Why is it not showing similar enthusiasm for any other cricket? We have not heard of women's cricket being revived. We have not heard of first class cricket being revived. So why IPL? Because it is business. Very, very clearly it is business. Now, this is the question I want to ask you, Sunil. From the distance, do you think this is a sound business decision that the IPL governing council seems to have made? Actually, the chairman has gone on record as saying that IPL is most likely going to be held in Dubai, in Middle East. Do you think this is a business decision? Is it business or is it emotion? What do you think has played a big role here?
I don't think so. There's a business reason behind that. I mean, if it's a business reason, you should have had it in India. There's more business in India rather than in UAE. UAE is such a small place. I mean, and if you see recession that is set in Dubai, businesses are struggling. So where you're going to money? Even when Sharjah tournaments were held, CBFS tournaments were held, money was coming from India. Indian companies were advertising there. Even the boundary line skirtings were all from Indian companies. The banners you saw were Indian companies. So where's the business? Business is in India. So it doesn't make sense if you say it's a business decision to move there. And I don't know what emotion you're talking about if you're moving it to UAE. I don't see any reason except it really baffles me. That what are the reasons? Okay, I'll tell you one thing. The main stadium in UAE could be Dubai International Cricket Stadium. The operations manager, CEO, whatever you call it, is a Pakistan. Whole team there is Pakistanis. Okay, so where you're taking it? You're taking IPL to Pakistan. Where Pakistanis in Pakistan are saying, why are you holding IPL? Why not T20 World Cup? So are you risking players? Are you risking teams by taking them to UAE, where they are not as circumspect as they are in India about the pandemic, about keeping distance, about wearing masks? Everything is open there. The metro is open, malls are open, people are moving around in malls. So life is as usual there. I mean, that's what they're showing. But is it? So I don't understand. What is the business decision? What is the emotional decision? And why are you running away from pandemic? You can't run away from pandemic anywhere in the world. You go to Timbuktu and there'll be pandemic there. So where will you play cricket? So learn to live with it and play cricket. Like the West Indians and England are playing their test series. It makes no sense. It doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make emotional sense. It doesn't make any health sense. Nothing.
Hemant, I'll take you back to Wimbledon. What All England Club decided was that because it's not going to host Wimbledon this year, it will go ahead and give away the prize money to many players. Don't you think a similar decision like that would have been a great one to make, an emotional one to make, by IPL, give away the monies this year without hosting the tournament? We believe that India could not hold it at all.
Well, I think coming back to the earlier question, which Sunil Bhai also spoke about, and he has a very, very important point of view as far as the finances and emotions are concerned. I think the first and most important reason we need to ask, and this is obvious because the treasurer, Arun Dumar, if I'm not mistaken, of the BCCI has already gone on record to say that the reason they are having this tournament there is purely from a BCCI economic perspective, which means that they have taken a lot of money from the broadcasters, from sponsors and other people who are, sort of putting in all their sort of the money inside the tournament that they already have. But having said that, I think what is more important from an economic perspective is that I don't think they want to really give that money back. I mean, if at all push comes to shove and IPL, assuming is for whatever reason cancelled totally or postponed to another date. Postponement is one thing, cancellation is another. If it's treated as cancelled, I'm assuming that the BCCI will have to return that money back to the sponsors, to the broadcasters, etc., 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 which I don't think they really want to. So I think where we come from your question, as far as what Wimbledon did, is to say distribute the prize money to various people. Yes, I agree. But then my question again is that there is a certain lot which plays this tournament, which I think is not desperate for money. That's the first thing. Second, there is a lot. Yes, there is a lot of youngsters, a lot of young people like we and I have been going over many years, not now, ever since this tournament started, and before that the ICL started. We've seen how these tournaments have actually become rags to riches stories for a lot of people. Some of them who have been rickshaw pullers, children, some uneducated parents, who thanks to their children, who now are leading much more comfortable and better and much better lives. So yes, I mean, how is BCCI going to decide to give whom the money? That is point number one. But I think importantly, the reason why they're having this entire tournament wherever it is, whether it's going to be in India or whether it's going to be abroad, is primarily because nobody has the guts to have it in India. Let's be honest. Okay? You're going to have this tournament in, say, Bombay. You can sanitize Bombay, no big deal. You can have it in Bombay. Why are they not thinking of doing that? Because obviously, and they're worried about the question people will ask, oh, you have a problem you don't have a problem for cricket. What about X? What about Y? So it's a political thing. Let's be very honest. Nobody has the guts and the courage to say, no, I'm going to have it in India. I'm going to have it in Bombay. This is a private tournament, by the way. So then permissions becomes a problem. Will that government, local state government, whichever it is, it could be any state, are they going to give them permissions or not? All these little factors are very important. Having said that, I think to them, I think politically, to be politically correct in the sense that, keep that naysayers or whatever they call it, the people who always criticize whatever anybody in power does, whichever government, to keep them happy, I guess the best political way to have it outside the country where, you're not having it in your country, so you're not responsible. And okay, at that point in time, the organization becomes a private body. So they're doing their private little tournament, which it actually is a private little tournament and a domestic one at that in another city. So why should it bother? So I think these are all the factors. First is the factor of giving money back to the people who have paid you for it already, because a lot of that money must have come in. As I said, I don't know the exact amount. That is number one. Number two, the naysayers, the problem tomorrow, if you have it any part of India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from the east side of our country to the Kutch area, whichever place to take it, wherever you have it, you're going to have problems. You're going to have people criticizing you, the government, and eventually everybody, including the board. And I don't think the board wants to do that, which is why I think they've taken the safe way out. And it doesn't matter what nationality of people live there, there are Indians also. So it's a neutral venue. Number one, the venues, the places are good, the logistics are possible, and all kinds of reasons are being given right now about this being an airline hub and that aircraft transportation will be easy. I don't think that's really critical. I think the critical aspect is, one, keep the money back to the people you've taken it from. Two, keep it in a neutral venue so nobody criticizes anything. Simple as that.
Well, I get your point, Dada, but these are not usual times. I'm sure CCI and the IPL Governing Council would have got into contract both with the broadcaster and with the sponsor, where there would be a clause, a force majeure clause, where you can get away without having any matches. There are circumstances like that. Events have been called off. A Wimbledon has been called off. And a French Open has been called off. I'm sure lots of badminton tournaments around the world have been called off. The Olympic Games has been put off. Nobody has talked about having to return money to the broadcaster there.
Correct.
I think the BCCI is very keen on having some cricket, no matter what cricket it is. I'm sure the BCCI is very keen that it has some cricket that can bring some money to itself. It seems to be in deep trouble as far as Deccan Chargers is concerned. It has been asked to pay a very high amount to Deccan Chargers.
Yes.
They have to pay Kochi Tuskers as well. So with monies going out of BCCI, going out of the IPL central coffer, it is going to be very difficult for BCCI if it does not host a tournament this year. That must be the only reason. Basically, they are cutting their losses, trying to host a tournament.
Absolutely.
Also, my own belief is that when you have events in India, when you have the IPL in India, for example, there are lots of people who benefit from it. I know the ground staff in Ferosha Kotla. For them, it is Diwali in summer. You host 8 matches. The home side captain does make it a point to go and reward the ground staff. So they get a bonus. Those people are getting affected. I don't know if the ground staff at Ferosha Kotla are getting their salaries or not. But missing out on IPL money, and this was good money that they would make every year for 6 weeks of hard work, they are missing out. I read this amazing story of Irfan Pathan sending 25,000 rupees to a cobbler in Chennai because he read a newspaper article about how this cobbler would help cricketers by stitching their shoes and setting them right at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium. And he has lost revenue. So when Irfan Pathan heard about this, he said he would send 25,000 rupees to the cobbler to make up for the losses this year. You look at it, there must be thousands of people who benefit from IPL happening in India. And I don't think the BCCI is paying any attention to those outside this very focused group of players and support staff. There are a lot of people who benefit from IPL. It is an industry in itself, and it doesn't seem great that an industry should be moved out to a third nation for cricket to be played and for them to make money. Uh, Point I want to make, Sunil, with you is the fact that maybe the Middle East, because in the United Arab Emirates, because they have only what 60,000 cases, less than 60,000 cases reported of COVID virus. You think that could be a reason, and also the fact that logistics are perhaps better managed. Maybe they are easier to handle in the Middle East than they are in India. You look at the distances between, let us say, an Ahmedabad and Delhi, or a Mumbai and a Calcutta, or a Bangalore and even a Hyderabad and Chennai. When you have teams that are placed so far flung from each other, to find that one or two venues where they can have this 60 matches might be tough. So the Middle East seems to be an option purely from the logistics perspective. What do you think, Sunil?
If they wanted to have, suppose they're having it in UAE where they got 3 stadiums, okay, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Sharjah. So why can't you have it in Mumbai? You have DY Patil, Wankhede, and Rivon Stadium. So I don't understand that. At one venue, you're getting 60,000 cases, you said. You know, what is the population of UAE? Look at the ratio. Out of that population, there are 60,000 cases. So it's high actually if you speak to that. I didn't know they had 60,000. I know about Muscat because I keep following Muscat because of, you know. If you look at 1.5 hours of time difference, so UAE is 1.5 hours behind. So if they start at 7, you're starting at 8:30. So take your game taking beyond midnight here on your television. Okay. Don't forget weather is still hot in UAE. It's very humid in UAE. So playing conditions are not exactly ideal when you're talking of going there, you know. I don't know. Weather-wise, it's not correct. Timing-wise, it's not correct. If they have to give to sponsors money and everything, they might as well have it in India. As Hemant said, you know, that the sponsors want money. They will be happy to have money by holding it in India rather than in UAE. So you may lose audience. We'll have to see if they hold it in UAE. What is going to be TRP of IPL this time? The kind of pitches that you will have. Do you think you're going to have entertaining cricket there? Where the cricket is played on these stadiums, particularly, cricket is only played when international cricket comes. Otherwise, there are stadiums used for Mohanlal show also and weddings also. So you also have that issue whether playing conditions are as to this playing conditions you'll get in Dharamshala or Wankhede or DY Patil or Eden Garden anyway, you know, or Firozshah Kothari.
That gets me to the question, do you think anybody is really interested in playing conditions in the cricket actually, or is it just a business deal that has got to be completed? And is that why they are going ahead?
Absolutely. I mean, let's be very honest. I mean, those who take decisions, do they even know what playing conditions mean? And let's be, I mean, a few, apart from obviously few senior cricketers who happen to be the very senior cricketers and respected ones. Is this the right month? September can never be the right month to play cricket in Bombay. Let's be honest, okay? I mean, whatever cricket that starts in Bombay, in Mumbai, Bombay when I was playing my local club cricket or whatever, always started after the first half of October. So unless you're going to play that after October, the first of October, even Mumbai is a bad option. I think basically what you're saying, the question that you asked me is that does it matter to anybody what the playing conditions are? I don't think so. I think it's purely, as I said earlier, and I keep saying it, and I'm not saying it because I feel so. Please understand something. This is something which has gone on record, which is attributed to the treasurer of the BCCI. Okay, it's been attributed. You can go Google it. He says that it's economic reasons, the reasons more than anything else. It's very straight, very obvious. So I'm just going by what they are saying. I'm not thinking of conjuring something in my mind. I've always been a person who's always felt that, we are very lucky that cricket in India is run by the BCCI, because had it been run by the typical associations which run other sports, cricket would have been as dead as the other sports are, unfortunately. But BCCI so far has done a fantastic job. I mean, given them the bouquets, the big bats are, I don't think the tournament should, one, be played outside the country for the sake of playing cricket, yes, or for the sake of making your money or giving the money back. That's it. It's purely economic. That's the only reason why. Then I don't think they even must have considered what kind of thing. And what Sunil Bhai is saying, right? It's not easy to use one or two stadiums for 60 days, right? 60 days, if I'm not mistaken. That's around the time that this tournament will be held. If it's held, full 14 games per team, 8 teams playing, 60 days of cricket, what is needed. One stadium, there will be wear and tear of the wickets. We saw that happening when we played in England some years ago. Even when you have these different tournaments happening in Australia, for example, you have the one tournaments, you have T20s, you have the Big Bash, and then you see at the end of the month, end of the season, the wickets become bad. So I'm not very sure what Sunil Bhai is absolutely right to even say that you can have a tournament which is going to last 60 days. Two is do they have the what shall I say, the ability or the expertise to maintain the wickets and keep them as fresh as ever?
Hemant and Sunil, one of the biggest concerns that I've got as somebody who watched sport for 37 years now, and played a bit of sport myself, is that no cricketer has had any serious action in the last 3 or 4 months. For him to come back and to start bowling full tilt, for him to start fielding as well as he could, he's going to pull a muscle, he's going to tear a muscle. There is a huge risk of injury that BCCI is putting the players to. If you have not trained hard enough for 6 weeks, it is going to be very difficult to get back on the cricket field and give you 100%. Whether you're batting, bowling, or fielding, it is going to be a challenge for the players. I think it is a little unfair on the players that without even speaking to them, without even understanding human physiology, sports physiology, the board seems to have made a decision that it will have IPL beginning sometime in September and ending in November, just in time for India to go to Australia. I think it is about time that people started caring for cricketers, caring for their welfare, caring for their overall health. Yes, it's nice to think of giving them some job opportunity, that is IPL, playing there and making some money. But I think their overall health needs to be taken into account. Hemant, you played cricket yourself. Do you think people would come back from a summer vacation and go straight into a high intensity cricket match? So take a minute in which to try and explain whether it is actually possible for a player to come back after a long layoff and then jump into high intensity action.
Certainly not. No way. Because if you even read what some cricketers, including Indian cricketers, have been giving media interviews, apart from cutting their spouse's hair and all kinds of nonsense that we see on social media, I don't think it's possible. They would need at least, I would say, a month. At least a month of good cricket. I mean, not just because you're playing a cricket at the highest level. I mean, whatever this tournament is, T20, you're playing against the best in the world. And when you're playing against the best in the world, people watching and paying top dollar to watch money, even if you're paying your television operator money, you're paying a lot of money. And the money's worth is only when you get good cricket. And I think it's going to be very tough for these people to sort of keep the standard of cricket at that level. We've been watching it now when England, is taking on England, West Indies at this point in time, and we've seen that even now, batsmen of the caliber of Joe Root and all are even then they're struggling. Apart from one or two cricketers, all the others are struggling to be there. So it's going to be very, very tough. Trust me.
Sunil, your closing thought? Do you think BCCI is putting players' overall health at risk by asking them to jump into high intensity action without giving them the time to work on their match fitness? They might be physically fit, but are they match fit? And is it fair to ask them to get into high voltage games straight away?
BCCI has never bothered about players. Have they ever bothered about players? Have they ever asked players anything? So they are not bothered if they are match fit or not. Right from the time, cricket touring teams would go earlier and play a few matches, get used to conditions, everything, Here there's nothing. They'll just pick up their bags, land there. I don't know whether they'll get quarantined also or not. I don't know. I mean, this is, And as he rightly said, if you watch the test matches, if you watch the first two test matches, the players have struggled. Players have struggled. You can see that. So it's obvious you can't it's for anything in life. Even if you're singing and if you start singing suddenly after 6 months, you're not going to get into your soor or, you're going to miss ragas and everything is going to be, you need to read. What is a riyas? Basically, what you call riyas in any performing art, And I think cricket is also a performing art. It's an art, basically. If you look at it, the players bowling, for outsiders, those who don't know cricket, may appear who is hitting the ball, but it's an art. And when they haven't done enough riyas, I will put it that way, and they are not ready for it. So you're going to get Besura cricket. For this IPL, when they go straight, as you and Hemant both pointed out, that you're going to go straight from home and go there and start practicing, that's not going to be. Even they would know that they're just going there, take pay pack and come back.
Dada?
Well, I have just one thing to say. Forgetting match fitness. COVID is a pandemic which is equal opportunity pandemic, if you know. So you could be a superstar film star, or you could be a politician who is probably heading your country, you can get COVID. So taking a risk is a big opportunity. The only thing that I have is that I genuinely feel that maybe the BCCI could have waited until things become better so that you can have it at a bigger level. But I'm sure they have their reasons, and as Mr. Dhumal has put it sometime back in the media interview, he says it's economical, so we'll accept his word for it. Having said that, my only question or my only word to Sunil bhai, he says कि हर गाने गायक को रियाज करना पड़ता है. If you ask any of the old timers who have played cricket in the 60s or watched cricket in the 70s, they say वैसे भी ये बेसुरा cricket है यार, इसको क्या रियाज करने की जरूरत है? तो वो भी हो सकता है. So maybe I'll end it at that. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what cricket. I mean, to play reverse sweep, you don't really require to be, कान अच्छी नहीं लगाई तो कोई बात नहीं है. वैसा भी वो cricket वही है. बेसुरा ही है तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? That's I think what the old timers will say. Having said that, let's just hope that none of our cricketers and others associated with this tournament who will go there just for the sake of they have to go there or they've asked to go there, don't get caught into the pandemic or don't get affected by the pandemic. That's only fear that I have.
It's been interesting speaking to you both and listening to you and sharing my own thoughts as well. We can only hope that BCCI and the IPL governing council will make the most sensible decision. We know that at the moment this is only a tentative decision that's been shared in public domain. We are not sure if this has been ratified by the BCCI, but if it does, we can only hope that it is a sensible decision that BCCI will make, keeping in view the players' overall health. Remember, there are test matches to be played in Australia. That's a big series for India. You cannot be risking them getting injured in IPL because they are getting into a high-intensity tournament just short of a big test series in Australia. It's very important that everyone start thinking about the players and about the fans as well. Hopefully, BCCI will make that sensible decision. Thank you very much again, Sunil and Hemant, for being here and for sharing your time.